First, I want to say Happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all of you. We appreciate you all the time. We're happy you're here. We know teachers are tremendously busy, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening. My name's Denise Olson. I'm Director of Marketing in the Education Department, and I'm here with Nikki Siriani, my colleague, and our special guest speaker, who I will introduce in a minute. Next slide, please. For those of you not as familiar with GBH, or formerly WGBH, we're Massachusetts PBS station along with our sister station NEPM in Western Mass. We're also a flagship station in the PBS network, producing much of the content that viewers know and love, including Frontline, Masterpiece, Nova, American Experience, and many of the PBS kids shows. Next slide, please. So I mentioned I'm in the education department, and some people are surprised to learn that GBH has an education department, but we do. We create digital learning resources for pre-K through 12, and those resources are published on PBS LearningMedia, which is PBS's free platform for teachers and students, created in partnership with us. In the education department, we also create early childhood outreach programs and programs for after-school time and community learning. Tonight's webinar is going to focus on getting started with PBS LearningMedia. So maybe you're new to the platform, or you just opened an account, or you opened an account a while ago and checked out a couple things and would like to get up to speed on how to use it. That is what we'll be covering tonight, and we'll also be pointing to resources for using more advanced features of the platform in our follow-up materials. Also, I wanted to say that we'll be showing some content tonight, but mostly as examples. The focus is going to be on using the platform and finding the content that's most relevant to you and your students. A few housekeeping items. Again, if you're using the chat, please set it to everyone. Use the chat for questions or comments. We're allowing a lot of time for questions tonight. We'll be answering the questions in the chat as we can. 24 hours from now, you will receive a follow-up email for the webinar, which is being recorded, and the follow-up will have a link to the webinar recording, to the slide deck that we're using tonight, and to a resource document that will be full of links to a bunch of the stuff that we're mentioning tonight. Next slide, please. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our special guest speaker. Cara Pekarcik is a biology and zoology teacher at North Quincy High School and was the 2018 Massachusetts Teacher of the Year. She's also received awards from the NEA Foundation and the Biotechnology Institute. Cara has a master's from UMass Boston and a doctorate from Walden University. We love working with Cara, and we've been working with her since about 2018, first as a GBH educator ambassador, as a webinar and in-person presentation co-presenter, and most recently representing GBH as PBS Digital Innovator All-Star. We'll be putting links to our Educator Ambassador and our Digital Innovator All-Star program in our follow-up materials. So now I would like to turn it over to Cara.
Thanks, Denise. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I just want to echo Denise's comments. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. I hope that you have felt appreciation not just this week, but all year. I know you certainly deserve it. So welcome, and I'm going to be traveling with you on this journey, learning a little bit more about PBS LearningMedia. But first, I want to just ask you a question. So we're going to do a little do now, if you will. Let me share that agenda with you very quickly. We'll do this do now, and then we're going to talk about PBS LearningMedia, what it is, what are some of the features of the platform, and then we're going to allow you to take a deeper dive, and we're here if you need some support for that deeper dive, just to give you a chance to hopefully walk away this evening with something that you might be able to use tomorrow in your classroom. So we'll see how it goes. And if not, you might even find that someone else finds something that you might be able to use very soon. This webinar is something to help you maybe get through those last few weeks of the year, but also as you start thinking about next year. I know we don't like to generally think about that. We like to take that break in the summer, but some people do find it's helpful to reflect on their year and start thinking about what they can do for the future. And this might be a wonderful platform to help you do that. We're also going to just talk a little bit about use of PBS Learning Media in your classroom. We're going to do our participant giveaway, and then we have a brief survey for you to fill out just to let us know how it went. So let's get started. All right, we are going to ask that you head over to Jamboard to answer a question for us, and we're going to put that link for you in the chat. If you've never used Jamboard, you're going to see a screen, and on the left-hand side, I'm going to go there with you in a second, but on the left-hand side, you'll see this choice bar, and I'm circling the little Post-it note. And that Post-it note is what you're going to press in order to write your answer to the question, what is media and how do you implement it in your classroom? So I'm going to switch my screen here to the Jamboard. Hopefully it shows up. There it is. And if you've never used this before, again, this is just like a giant whiteboard that you can stick Post-its to, except they are digital Post-its. So in that bar on the left, just underneath the arrow is the Post-it. I think they call it sticky notes on Jamboard. You can press one of those, change your colors if you want to, and once you hit save, then it will allow you to add that to the screen. It does have a word limit. I'm not sure what the word limit is, but just write a brief little statement. Again, the question is up on the board here. What is media? And how do you implement it in your classroom? I'm just going to be moving the stickies around because they do overlap when you hit enter. And we'll take a minute here in just a moment to just look at some of these responses. Great. So as you finish up your thoughts, just looking at some of the answers already, media is a way to convey information. We're talking about digital, audio, and visual resources. Media is a source of information. We're seeing comments about videos that are used in class, use of media to reinforce lessons, technology, and then some specific uses like with elementary multilingual learners. I love that. And that it takes many different forms, advertisements, posters. I love all of these ideas here. This is a great example of how broad the definition of media is, and also how it can be used many different ways in our classroom. Awesome. So you can continue to add that. And if you have any other thoughts as we're moving through and you want to add it to the Jamboard, please feel free. But I'm going to head back to my slides right now, and we're going to start to proceed forward with our journey about PBS Learning Media. So let me get us back here, and I will take us back onto our slideshow. All right, so just a quick and brief intro to PBS Learning Media. Again, you're going to have access to all of these slides if you ever want to come back. If someone says, oh, what did you do a webinar on? And you're like, well, it's PBS Learning Media, but what exactly is that? Well, first of all, it's free. So all of the materials, once you are signed up, are free for you to use as resources from pre-K up to grade 12 and wherever you need to in between. And it's to just help make effective and equitable teaching. And these are lots of different resources that we're going to see as we're talking here that are vetted, and they offer diverse perspectives that you can use with your students, with support materials in many cases, with options to have multiple sources of media within those sources. And it's really just a vast database, if you will, of just so many different resources that you can use in your class. So we're going to learn about this together. And the first thing that we want to make sure that everyone knows is how to create their account if you do not already have one. So creating a free teacher account is actually super simple. You want to go to pbslearningmedia.org. I actually have one set up here that I'm not signed into, so you can see what it looks like when you are first starting on PBS Learning Media. The only thing to remember is you want to see that there's for teachers up here on the left-hand side, and then you can either sign in or you can sign up for free. And it's as simple as clicking on that button, and you can sign up a number of different ways. Here's where you want that teacher button. If your students are connecting, they obviously would use the student button, but they also can access this through any of your learning platforms like Google Classroom without having to set up their own account. So it is possible for them to link in that way. For you, you can click here, sign up with Google, use your email, use Facebook, and it's easy as clicking on that and setting it up. If you are already set up, then you can go to sign in, and I have mine connected to my school's Google account. So I'm going to sign in here with Google so that what I'm working on is going to work for our presentation tonight. It will most likely prompt you maybe the first time you visit or maybe a few times after. There is a section up here at the top. You can see where I'm circling. It might ask you, is GBH your local station? Yes or no? And wherever you are in the country, it might ask you about your local station. So you can feel free to say yes or no, but obviously my local station is GBH. So if you haven't done so already and you want to set up that account at some point while I'm doing a little quick intro tour here, feel free, because we are going to give you an opportunity to do a little searching on your own here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to start right here on the homepage with giving you some information about what you'll find when you open PBS Learning Media. The very first thing at the top is going to be, your tool for searching, which we're going to do in just a minute. But I just want to point out some of the really wonderful, quick things you can find on the homepage. You can see right here at the top, all of these different content areas are highlighting some of the resources that are available. And you'll notice with each of these little cards, it has the content area at the top. We've got the title of the resource, and then also at the bottom, some guides to what grades this might be appropriate for. And these do change as you come on to PBS Learning Media. You'll see different resources that will show up here on this first strip of information. You'll also notice just below that, you can even browse by subject and just click on specifically what you want. I saw there are a few history teachers here. I saw there are a few elementary school teachers and some science teachers. So your little buttons are down here that you could click on, and you can also browse by grade. And so even on the homepage, it's set up here to try to help you search as quickly as possible. If you scroll down, you'll see some recent news like our webinar here. I actually didn't know that was on there, but our webinar is front and center there, as well as other webinars, which there are many, many webinars that you can access through PBS Learning Media that will help with professional development, with content specific information about PBS Learning Media and beyond. So that's also a great resource for us. And then sometimes there are links to either new collections or new resources that are available, or a new show or something that's happening that's new to us. There are also links to collections, and I'm going to talk about those briefly, so I'm not going to get too in detail there. And then at the bottom, again, there are some teacher events that are down here, as well as along the very bottom strip, the help button. And I'm going to highlight this just because this help button is really helpful. So I'm going to click on this a second and take you through and show you what you'll find when you click on the help button. There's really no end to what you can get help with here. You can get help with access to how to share your content on a number of different platforms. You can see this list keeps growing, I think, every time I open this help button of videos and content that can help make sure that you have this sort of flawless transition between whatever learning program you're using at your school and PBS LearningMedia. It will tell you how to build lessons. The lesson builder is a great tool. I'm not going to go over it this evening, but it is something that I'm sure we have videos on. I think I took a webinar on lesson building a long time ago, so I'm sure there's something out there for you. Check that out. And just the list is endless here. So you can really click on anything that you need, video tutorials to take you step by step through using PBS LearningMedia to help make it as simple as possible for you. So definitely remember that help button way at the bottom of the page and check out anything that you might need there. All right, we are going to do a little searching now. Now I'm going to do this one for you so you can see just how easy the steps are. And then we're going to ask you, as I said in a little bit, to do a little bit of that searching as well. So I'm just going to come here to the homepage and I am going to put in a topic that might be something you might be talking about in social studies classes or history classes right now, which is elections. You could choose something like artificial intelligence, seasons, ecology, Shakespeare. It really could be any number of things for our physics teachers. Excuse me. For our physics teachers, you can put in some physics topics here and let it search and see what you come up with. My apologies. I'm going to put in elections, and it's as simple as typing that in, hitting enter, and I'm going to come up with the screen here, which is our results screen. And you can see I have 685 search results on just the word election. I haven't added any ands or parentheses, quotation marks, or I haven't done anything to make this special. And so obviously, just like with a Google search or something like that, that's a lot of material, and it may not all be relevant to what I'm looking for. So a couple of items I want to point out to you on this page is, first of all, you can change how you sort here on the right-hand side. We've got relevance highlighted right now, but you can see there's popularity. Maybe there are teachers that are using a resource and they're really finding it helpful in their classroom. That might be a great place to start for a resource on elections if you're not sure where to go. Or maybe you'd like something that's newer, and you can click on newest and it will just reevaluate your search and put those front and center for you to take a look at. You can also filter, just like you can on most databases, on the left here by grade. You can see we can filter by subject. You can filter by resource type, and you might not be familiar with what those are yet, but hopefully in a few minutes you will be. And you can look for things like language and length of video, lots of different features that you can filter by in order to get what you'd like. So just to see how that changes, if I'm looking for elections for maybe upper level students and I want to focus on social studies, I'm getting down not quite lower, which means we have a lot of resources, but I am starting to get lower and lower. And as I start looking for specific resource types, that number will drop down to get me to a place where I can have a chance to start searching through the content. And it's really important to remember that whatever shows up on this list, always take a look at, always open, make sure that it's going to work for you. And if not, try the next one. So it's important that you take a look at and review all of the materials that you open on PBS LearningMedia. I did a little cheating and I kind of went ahead and found some things that I'd like to look for just because it can take you a few minutes to maybe find that exact piece that you want. I'm going to go into this Election Central because when I did this search initially, Election Central, well, that sounds like that's going to have some election materials for me. And I was scrolling down and I was just looking at, what would I want to look at if I was a teacher teaching about elections? And I thought, oh, how voting works. I know that I have some students who are just turning 18 and they're wondering about voting. And this just caught my eye. And so I'll click on how voting works, take me to see what kind of opportunities we have in here. And then I saw this that struck my eye as well, the electoral decoder. And I opened it and I saw this resource here. And this resource, when I explored it more, you can actually go back in time to, I don't even know how far back it goes to, but to many presidential elections and look at the electoral votes for those elections and compare them and contrast them. And I thought it was a great visual for students that might help them understand more about the electoral college and how that's working and be able to look at it. So that's one easy way to be able to find a resource in PBS Learning Media. And you have lots of options on this page, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. Great. So I'm going to actually head back to my slides because I have a few resources picked out for you to show you a little bit about what's on the page here. So bear with me one moment. Come back here. And just so you know, when you do receive the slide deck, I have also taken you step by step through what I just did on the slides, just in case it doesn't seem as intuitive as just clicking and searching. There are some step by step slides to get you right there to where I was as well. All right. So now I just want to show you a little bit about a resource page and what you might find on that resource page. And so each of these, as I click through, are going to show you some variety in the resources, but most of them are set up in the same way in terms of what you might be able to find on the resource page. So this was a resource about environmental justice. And so I want to point out some of the things that you might see when you open it. The first thing you'll notice is right next to the video. So this is called a video resource. And so it's just going to have a single video on it. And anytime I want to know what kind of resource I'm looking at, just here under the title, you'll see the resource as well as the grade band that it's recommended for, and if it's in one of our collections. Again, I'm going to highlight those in just a moment. You'll also notice to the left of this video, I made it a little bit bigger here. There's ways to share directly to Google Classroom and sharing a link with students. Those are two of the ones that I think I use most often. And then there's that build a lesson or your favorite button. So if you have an account, you click that favorite button and you can find it easily later on. You'll notice the yellow circle below the video. I have a little description about what this video actually is, what resource I'm looking at. I can click on the standards button to see the standards, and they do have standards that will align in Massachusetts for many of these. I think especially if you're on the GBH, and Nikki or Denise, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that in the chat box. And then it'll tell you a little bit more about how they align to national or state standards. And then on the right-hand side, if you're looking at the teacher view, you can see support materials and just for you. So you know those nitty-gritty, like step-by-step what to do to use this resource. And then there are oftentimes support materials to use with students, as well as maybe related topics below this. So you can see all of those here on that one resource page. So I'm just going to show you some of the other resource types as well. Yes, so Denise has just verified that it will serve the standards for the state or station you selected. So you'll be able to find those easily under that button. Okay. This is actually a media gallery. And I love media galleries because there are little clips of usually a broader media source. Perhaps it's a documentary, perhaps it's a number of clips that are related to one topic. And so this is one about busing. This is a recent addition to the American Experience collection. And a media gallery, I forgot I wasn't on the actual internet here. Sorry about that. You'll see a number of videos as well as those same items below. Support materials for teachers. There may be support materials for students. All of the same options are available to you though. This is a lesson plan. So this is another type of resource that you'll see that is pretty standard for a lesson plan. It's just going to take you through the plan, and it will have embedded links. If it says, use this video, there's a link to it, or use this worksheet, there'll be a link to it that will take you to that resource that you can use. And you can even see just down here where it was cut off, there are going to be a number of media resources that you can use with this lesson. I mentioned Shakespeare earlier. This is what we call an interactive resource where students have a chance to, just like it sounds, interact with the images or the content by clicking, moving things around, just what you would imagine an interactive would be. So this is an example of one for Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet. Again, there are support materials, additional videos, all of those things that you may expect. So we've seen 4 different resources so far, and I think I have one more here. I have another video set up here for you through Nova, looking at careers, looking at people in science. And that's the last one that I put up there. There are a few other types of resources that you can search by on the search page, including interactive lessons, and there are a few others. These are some of the ones I highlighted because I tend to use these very often as a great resource for my classroom. Okay, I mentioned collections. I am not going to cover all of these slides of collections because there are a number of them, but I just want to point out, here is the collection I actually got our example from, Election Central. And what we mean by collection is a collection of related resources. And they can be a variety of videos and lesson plans and all of those different resources that I just showed you, set up in an organized way to help you find as much related material as possible. So there are some social studies collections that I'll just go through here, like the US History collection. There's Ken Burns in the Classroom collections. And all of these, you can actually search just for these names on the search bar. Like you could put Ken Burns in and collection, or you could put social studies and collections, and this would take you as well. Some more American Experience and Frontline. Some of you may be familiar with these names already. Lots of resources. And you can even see right here on the screen, in the American Experience collection, there are 308 videos. There might even be more since this screenshot was taken. Lots of different information is available here for you in the social studies category. I pulled out, as a science teacher, some science collections that are on PBS LearningMedia, and this one is a special one at GBH, Bringing the Universe to America's Classroom. It's a wonderful resource, and if you are a science teacher, I encourage you to take a look. All of the links that you see here on the screen are going to be part of your resource document, so you'll have a list to all of these. Great. I'm just going to sort of scroll through a few of them so you can see the variety that we have here in our collections. There's Nova collections. There's ones about solving problems with engineering. So if anyone is involved in engineering, we have ELA collections such as Masterpiece, some of the different collections that you might see there. American Masters. I pulled out a couple here. Poetry. I know there are huge poetry units in ELA classes, so you can see some of those as well. Mathematics collections are also available, and a lot of these include videos that are going to help support students in their learning of mathematics. You can see those here. And this is certainly not the whole set of collections that we have, so definitely take a look at those as well. And again, you'll get all of this information tomorrow in your resource guide. All right, well, we have gotten to the point where it's now time for us to take a deeper dive together. We're going to try to get you involved in looking at PBS LearningMedia and figuring out a resource that might work for you, right? So here are the instructions, and just bear with me for a second because this comes in 2 parts. The first part is for you to take a few minutes. Now, we don't have a ton of time, but we have a little bit of time for you to be able to go into PBS LearningMedia, set up your account if you haven't already, and to do a little search. maybe we'll, 5 minutes, maybe it'll take you a little more, and find a resource, find something that really strikes you as like, oh, this, I'd like to use this, or I'd like to look at this further, whatever the situation may be. Maybe you think about something that you're planning on for the next few weeks. If you're here in Massachusetts, we still have a little ways to go. Maybe you think about something that, you did a lesson this year and, well, I don't know. I think I want something more. I want to have a media resource that might help to enhance that lesson and might help support my students in their learning. So I'd like to give you the opportunity to take that deeper dive. And then once you have that resource, and I'm going to show you this second part here, but I will repeat these instructions again because you'll probably be focused in on what you're doing. We're going to add it to a Padlet. If you've never used a Padlet before, I will show you what a Padlet looks like. So a Padlet is just basically a big place to store information, and an individual Padlet piece looks like the example that I have here on the board. And what I thought might be helpful is if, as a collective group, we took a few minutes to search for that resource, and then we added that resource to this Padlet. And I'm going to ask you to add maybe 4 things. Number one is the grade that were looking for when you did your search, or that you had in mind when you did your search. Maybe what subject you had in mind or topic, and then how you might use this. That's really my interest, is how do you think you might use this resource? And then add a link into the Padlet. You can see my example right here, so that once we're done and you get your resource page with this Padlet link, you'll be able to see what everyone found. And I'm going to try to organize it in a way that it will be by subject. So if you are a social studies teacher, you can go and say, hey, there are other social studies resources here that someone found that I can take a closer look at. So our first task, and we'll come back to this one again, and I'll show you exactly how to add that Padlet, is to go ahead onto PBS LearningMedia. Again, if you have not already done so, set up your account if you wish to do so, and then give it a little search. And we're here in the chat to ask any questions you'd like, but I want to give you a few minutes, and I'll touch base with you at about in just a few to see how we're doing, but feel free to give any updates in the chat. And if you feel comfortable, the Padlet link is already in the chat. You can start adding to the Padlet as well. In fact, I will show you how to do that just in case you have not done that before. The Padlet will come up and look like you see on my screen right now, and you'll write something incredible, as it says. You can add a hyperlink or a link up here in the little box that I'm scrolling over. And then when you're done and you have things written in here, you can hit publish and it will appear on our Padlet. All right. So if you are ready, let's go ahead and do a little searching. And if you have any questions that are popping up, as I said, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll see how it goes. I see some of you have found your way on there. That's great. Again, just some reminders. Try searching by your grade. Try searching by your subject. Oh, we have our first one. Magnets. Awesome. Whoever, if you're comfortable commenting, is that resource a video resource? Would you share in the chat what kind of resource you found? It looks like it might be just a lone video, which I think is great. And potentially even something that you can do the experiment along with the video, depending on what's happening in that video. You never know with magnetism. So that's wonderful. Angel Island video and discussion questions. Oh, talking about the Chinese Exclusion Act. Very interesting. Oh, great. A nice short 5-minute video that you can use to introduce and have good comparison. That's wonderful. And I'm sure a lot of these we can consider, primary sources that our students are looking at and documents that can help guide them through that process. That's really wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. We'll give you a few more minutes here to do some searching. Sometimes you end up going down that rabbit hole and you find resource after resource and they're just so interesting. So as I said, I will continue sort of keeping track of this Padlet and moving things around because as you know, you'll receive the recording as will everyone who signed up for our webinar tonight. And so if they're watching the video and they're doing some of this practice as well, they may also add to the Padlet. So hopefully we'll be able to build some resources here. And again, if you have a account, favorite whatever you just found, click on the little heart there to the left of the resource. So you'll be able to find this easily again when you need it. An interactive lesson about electromagnetic spectrum. That is cool. An interactive lesson on the American Revolution. That's awesome as well. And you can see in that interactive lesson there seems to be content, review and reflection, and a final assignment. And sometimes you'll find that there are additions that are happening. Like you'll find that there's even more going on when you open the teacher resources. There might be a lot of additional information and suggestions for how you can extend the activity or different types of projects that students might be able to do later on after you do that particular resource. So it's not always just about the resource that you're finding. There's a lot of connection within PBS Learning Media to help you find additional resources that can help you out. This is really wonderful. I love that there are some different sources here, some different subjects and even grades. I'm going to make this a little bit tinier now, so in case we get another one in there, we'll be able to see it. I know we're coming up on 7:40 here. We want to leave a little bit of time for questions, and also we want to leave a little bit of time for our giveaway. While you're still looking for resources, perhaps you still are, I want to show you. Katie, have you used the interactive American Revolution lesson before? Was that your lesson that you put up there, or is it something you've used before? Let's see if we can get a response from that. Organ function grinder. That, I don't know what that it means, but that sounds amazing. The challenge of solving, oh, like a little game, solving it before the machine. That's really awesome. The Three Kingdoms of Korea. Excellent. These are really awesome, everyone. Thank you so much for adding and taking the time to do that. I want to show you while you're looking something else that you're going to get in your resource guide tomorrow. So I'm going to come back to my slides, and then I might come back and take one more peek before we move forward to see if anyone else added anything while you're still looking. But I want to show you one other thing that you're going to get on your resource guide. And there are two options here. So I know we have some elementary teachers and we also have some upper level teachers. These are going to be documents that if you're still thinking about how to navigate through PBS Learning Media and find ways to help this tie into your classroom, these are ways to sort of map out what you might use your resource for. So the pre-K through 2 one is a little sketch pad sort of ideas that has been created by PBS Kids. This was provided for us. And then the one on the right is more for 3 through 12, although I think anyone could use either of these. And it really breaks it down for you, particularly if you are in a school district that is still asking for you to submit lessons or to have those lessons available. This will help you map out exactly what your purpose for using this is and how it might tie into things that you have already done. So those links will also be available for you to use and maybe even share with your colleagues if you want to sit down together as a group and start to look through PBS Learning Media for opportunities. All right, well, I'm going to take one more quick peek because I just can't help myself. All right, it looks like that's where we're at right now. If anyone else has any resources that they find that they want to pop in here, please do so. It looks like we've got a nice array of resources. And so what I think we're going to do is take the time to celebrate our educators that are here with us. And we're going to do our little giveaway, which I think Nikki is going to do for us here.
I sure am. I get the super fun job tonight of announcing our giveaway winners. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. We are so happy you chose to spend your time with us here tonight. So without further ado, we have three classroom packs to give away. The first one was our U.S. history pack, and that one is going to Wendy Waldron. Congratulations, Wendy. Then we had our STEM pack kit, and that one is going to Denise Porcello or Porcello. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but congratulations, Denise. And finally, our PBS Kids kit is going to Jada Jean Barnes. Congratulations, all three. I will follow up with an email offline to get your shipping address. And we can't wait to get those kits into the hands of you and the students that you teach. So congratulations so much. And thank you again for being here with us.
Great. Thank you, Nikki. And
Yeah.
congratulations, everyone. We are about ready to wrap up with and take time for questions. You are going to get a link to a survey when we are finally done here. And I just ask that you kindly take just a few minutes to fill that in. In fact, I think you'll have time here before that hour is up that maybe you'll get a chance to fill that in and let us know what you thought about the webinar, any suggestions or questions that you might have. And please feel free. We can take some questions now about PBS Learning Media. If there's something specific you saw that you want to ask about, I'd be happy to help you out with that. Not sure. We all feeling great and feeling excited to use PBS Learning Media? Oh, here we go, about grading. To grade things in the interactive on immigration, there are graphic organizers to fill in. Wendy, I am not 100% sure, but maybe I can take a look. Which one are we talking about? The interactive on immigration.
I can answer a little bit about that.
Go ahead.
It depends on how you assign it. If you're going through Google Classroom or one of the other platforms, you'll be able to look at the student work through that. We don't do automatic grading. If you're assigning it or with just a link or something like that, there is the opportunity for students to print out their work, and then you can review their work that way.
Hmm.
Jada Jean, we will look for some resources for third graders and follow up with you. That's good to know that that you introduce it in the third grade. I don't know if you've heard, but Ken Burns is coming out with a film on the American Revolution for the anniversary. So you know, we'll probably have a lot of resources coming out of that.
And Jada, I also put, and you'll again get this in the email, but anytime you have questions, I can vouch for the fact that GBH loves teachers. And so if you reach out to them, they are super responsive. And so if you have a question specifically like that, I've in the past said like, hey, I can't find this resource anymore. Do you know where it is? And someone always lets me know exactly where it might be and how I can find it. Very, very responsive. So
I just emailed a teacher with a custom list of links for seventh grade space science last week. So
awesome.
we love doing that. We love customizing the answers.
Jada, beware. You might get a more than you bargained for on the revolution. There you go. That's awesome.